I'd go about school wearing white socks and a fanny pack, mouthing off about taxes, telling anyone who would listen about my 4-speed lawnmower. I used to tip the dinner ladies 25% for God's sake. Why? Well, in a word, you. I first saw you on television when I was about 9 and should have been in bed. You were stood in some field, saying how nice it was. But it wasn't what you were saying that impressed me. It was how you were saying it. I liked your voice, Bill. You sounded so understanding, as if you'd agree to any reasonable proposition. Excuse me, Bill, but would you mind awfully if I threw an egg at you? Well, I'm mowing the lawn right now, Ben, but how does 3 o'clock sound? I asked my mum if we could get you over for a few babysitting shifts. She told me to turn that rubbish off and get to bed. To be honest, I forgot about you after that. Then I found your book one day, the one inspired by the field, the one you wrote 20 years ago before going back to the States, the one that was a bestseller in charity shops all over Europe. Long story short, I've decided to retrace your steps. Why? Because I'm bored. Take it from me, there's only so many tacos a guy can serve before he wants to put a pint of salsa down his windpipe. First stop, Calais. You remember this town, Bill? You've little reason to, I suppose, since you did bugger all here. And the things you did do, well, I can't even be sure you did those either. For example, you say you took a coffee on the Rue de Gaston Papin, but when I asked a local shopkeeper where I might find such a road, she answered with a look that suggested both xenophobia and pity, before telling me that such a road almost certainly didn't exist, on account of Rue de Gaston Papin meaning Road of the Forgetful Squid, or something equally unlikely. I've got to say, Bill, I was pretty wound up. I slammed my copy of Notes from a Small Island against the counter and poked the shopkeeper in the eye. I mean, if you were fibbing about Gaston Papin, what else were you fibbing about? Does Milton Keynes even exist? Disheartened, I asked a passing clergyman how to get back to the ferry terminal. He issued a volley of eloquent and no doubt instructive French words, which I pretended to understand perfectly when in fact I understood nothing at all. I reasoned that the ferry terminal must be near the water, and so headed for the beach, where I found a teenager chain-smoking electronic cigarettes and whispering philosophical maxims to a point in the middle distance. I pointed to the bundle of cranes and freight containers yonder and said, skillfully and in French, "Boat?" He shrugged 6 times and then quoted Jean-Jacques Rousseau, who once said, or so I'm led to believe, "In autumn there is hope," which I understood to mean that he wasn't at all sure. I found the ferry without further ado and took up vigil on the viewing deck. The day was bidding adieu, and as the coconut cliffs of Dover began to rise from the Channel's dark soup, overwritten, I reasoned that things weren't so bad after all. To be on these waves and under this sky, and at the dawn of what promised to be an eventful, if unoriginal, journey around a small island. What's the deal with copyright, by the way? Yours, Ben. Chapter 1. Calais, Dover. There wasn't really a young man quoting Rousseau. There was no passing clergyman. I did not poke a woman in the eye. I made those things up to get your attention, which is what you're supposed to do at the start of a book. You're also supposed to start with a description of the weather. So I should add that, for the most part, it was overcast in Calais. I walked from the port into the centre along the Rue Constant Dupont and the Rue Pierre Moulard, street names that seemed elegant and thrilling, despite their essential banality. I passed a pub called Le Liverpool, which looked sad and unpopular. I suppose it was once busy with British day-trippers in shell suits stocking up on Cronenberg and Côte de Rhône, the sort of people Bryson records seeing a lot of in '94. I wondered about the provenance of this